Hey everybody, Justin Crawford here, your host of the Men of the Hour podcast. After an incredible season one, I just want to thank each and every one of you who had tuned into the episodes we had, and I truly hope they were able to provide you with a sense of motivation, inspiration, and hope, especially after the year that we had together. And in order to celebrate, I wanted to provide you guys with some best moments we had with our guests, beginning with one of our first. GABRIEL IGLESIAS is obviously known for making us smile and laugh, but when he came by our show, he opened up super candidly just about how much comedy meant to him. Check this out. Where do you think comedy sits, especially in today's climate, on how much of a positive influence you could really have on people listening and watching you?
I think right now it's such a sensitive time that I'd like to think that people want to laugh, they want to feel good, they want to be entertained. But unfortunately, because of the way things are right now, people are just looking for any reason to shut people down. And I know for a fact, like with me, I try to keep the shows very friendly. I try to keep the shows just fun and happy. I might share some moments that made me feel a certain kind of way, but I always make sure that by the end of the show that I bring it back around and I make it end in a positive way. But I myself have been dealing with fans or just people that would hear my content and find ways to try to pick it apart, to find negative in it and make it seem like I was doing something wrong. And if I'm feeling it as a comic who doesn't intend, like I make it a point, I stay away from politics, religion, and sports, because all three of those things divide people. I figure if I stay away from those three things, I should be okay. And clearly that's not the case. Right now we're living in a time when people just want to tear people down. And if you're an entertainer, especially a comedian, it's really challenging because there's some comics that they'll do and say whatever they want. They don't care what the effects are because they have nothing to lose. And that's the scary part, is when you have things to lose, you're starting to approach it differently. And that scares me because then I feel like I'm not being 100. I'm not putting myself out there the way that I normally would. Now I'm approaching it with caution. And I don't like operating from a place of fear. I haven't been on stage in 4 months, and that's the longest I've gone. And it's one of those things where I always swore up and down that I'd always have that stage no matter what. And, and I always said, hey, well, if things don't work out here in the US, I can always, perform abroad. I've got an audience everywhere, so I can go anywhere. And wow, come to find out, no, man, when they take it away, they take it away. I mean, you got to go to a crazy extent now to be, to go do a show. But as far as where comedy's going to go, I don't know. It all depends on where this goes. But definitely sensitive times, people are getting canceled over anything and everything. And, if I'm not having fun, I don't know if I'm going to want to come back to it until it gets to a better place where we can just, have fun again.
Yeah, and a better place is where we hope it all ends up, especially in the new year. I think a lot of people are starting to anticipate more and more that especially with you being here in the fall, there's a lot to be excited for, but then ultimately a lot that we all have to work on as a society and as a world. I mean, even as a half Japanese, I'm always on the phone with my mom, and she's like, yeah, Japan's looking way better than the United States. And I'm thinking, oh, well, but Japan might be doing worse than other countries. You never know. And it's a collective thing we're all going through. So to your point, I'm anticipating that it could get better. But until then, like you said, we're all just kind of working with what we have. And to that point, too, I want to kind of reel things back a little bit and take you back in time just a second for our last question for you. And it's one we leave with every single guest on this show. Gabe, when you think of one thing that you know today, that you wish you knew on the first day you became a full-time comedian, what would that one thing be?
Ooh, don't eat everything on the road. Just because it's available to you, don't eat it all. I'm a person of excess, and let me tell you something. I always said, man, it'd be awesome to just be able to go out and eat out every day and just have fun and just, man, when you're in your 20s, you're indestructible. When you're 30s, you're like, okay, maybe not 7 days a week. And now I'm in my 40s, and it's like, whoa, I'm feeling it. And I'm like, if I would have just made some adjustments back then, I think I would have been in a much better place. Business-wise, career-wise, I think everything that's happened up to this point has been amazing. I would have taken better care of my health. because that's the only thing that's questionable at this point of my life is my health. It's like, man, he did all that. He got to this point, and that would suck to die now and leave it all to my son who doesn't know what he wants to do with himself. I love him, but yeah. You leave the whole thing to him. Yeah.
Now, the next clip is with a guy that I connected with instantly on the show this season, not only because we were military brats, biracial, and had grown up international, but because he just remains so optimistic and thoughtful throughout everything that he does in his career. Here's a look back at what Ricky Whittle had to say about friendship and relationships while chasing your dreams.
One thing that is tough in this industry is trying to establish new versions of that. You know, people that, you know, can be that for you here and now, because they're all back in the UK. I've got a couple here who I've been very fortunate. I've got a great friend called Anthony who I met when I first came to America.
Sure.
And so he was such a great guy, and he's not in the industry. He's actually in he was in real estate, and he was in—
They always are. Real estate, finance, food.
He's got fingers in all sorts of pies. This guy is great. He's invested my money into stuff, and he's made me money. But because he's such a good guy, he only hung around with good people. And so he only introduced me to good people. So my experience of LA has always been just really great people who are all working, who are inspiring, who are trying to help each other up, you know, because LA can be a very lonely place. And I'm fortunate enough that I never experienced that because of Anthony introducing me to just great people. And so as you get older, you kind of learn the word no, which I think is a very important word for a person to have in their locker. Whereby, to simplify it, we're all hanging out. Do you want to come out to this thing? No. Oh, you're busy? No, I just don't want to.
Right.
Whereas when you're younger, you find excuses, or you lie, and you're because you don't want to upset people, blah, blah, blah. Whereas now I'm just no, I'm just going to stay home. I want to sit on the sofa and watch TV, or I'm tired. Or when you meet people, I'm very honest in that, can I get your number? I'm no, I'm good. You know, I'm not going to just add people for the sake of it. You know, if I'm bringing you into my circle, I need to know that it's a positive thing. And you can tell that when you connect with someone. Straight away, like we've been chatting straight away. And before we even came on air, you were we probably need to start this camera because we were just chatting for ages. So, but you realize when you connect with someone and when you don't. So you don't need to be friends with everyone. You need to be friends with the right people, the people that enrich your life in a positive way. So you need to make sure that if your circle is small, that's sometimes a lot better than having, 50 friends. You know, if you've got 2-3 great ones, that's all you need, man.
Now, there was a lot going on in 2020, and I wanted to be sure to bring someone to the show that would be able to guide us in the best direction possible for our mental and physical health. And we were lucky enough to have the sexiest doctor alive, Dr. Mike. Public speaking has a lot to do with almost everything with your YouTube channel and your public appearances, and you probably see so many patients throughout your career so far. But people who are hesitant of that, or either hate talking to people or are nervous to start the first conversation with anybody, has there been anything you've learned that we can then tell those folks who are, taking a back seat on public speaking now?
Yeah, absolutely. And while you're being incredibly complimentary, I wouldn't like to say that I have full knowledge of the world because of my international background. I think maybe perhaps I have a fuller knowledge because of growing up in another country and then moving to the United States and living in all parts of New York, working in so many different hospital settings. I've done rotations pretty much across the US, seeing patients of different backgrounds. And growing up in New York just allows you to interact with a lot of different personalities.
Everybody, wait, can we talk about that, right? You get on a subway train going from downtown to uptown, you're going to meet 500 people from everywhere, but
Exactly. And everyone has unique personalities, and you learn how to interact with them, and you want to do better. And I think it makes you a more full person, not a completely full person, because I don't think anyone can be a full person, but we're striving for that. And being in New York, it really affords you those opportunities. For me, like you said, I wasn't the public speaker. I've had no media training when all this started. I didn't know how to go on TV or what to say. And it was all thrown upon me very quickly. But being a person who's read a lot of these books, you know, by Dale Carnegie, stepping outside of your comfort zone, making friends with people, those books motivated me to step outside my comfort zone in order to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And being a doctor, I've realized that is one of the most important things you can do, because not only does it train your brain to not be afraid of just something that you don't know, it also reassures your brain that the next time you do it, that it might not be as bad. So, for example, a classic technique I would give to my patients who are afraid to do something is to write down on a scale of 1 to 10 before they do something, how worried they are about it. And then after they do it, to write down the number of how bad it actually was. And almost always there's a discordance there, where they would say, I had to give a presentation in class and I thought it was going to be a 10 out of 10, horrible. And then they do it and it was actually like a 3, if that. And that sort of objective format of seeing your own objectivity of what you thought it was going to be like versus what it was like really sets you up and motivates you for the next challenge. Because there's this myth that exists about willpower and motivation, that you need to first have willpower. You need to first be motivated in order to do something, in order to go to the gym. But the reality of the fact is you actually need to go to the gym first, have a little bit of success, meet some sort of challenge, and then the willpower and motivation comes.
Wow.
So that's what I urge anyone to do, that if you're thinking about doing something, or you even wanted to do something, or you're afraid to do something, do it and then see how it makes you feel, and use the motivation and willpower that you get from it. Fill up that willpower tank, because our minds are just designed to thrive off meeting small challenges. The field of positive psychology, there's a great book titled Flow that teaches you that in order to feel this innate sense of fulfillment and well-being, you need to set small challenges for yourself. They need to be achievable challenges. Notice when you can have fun shooting a basketball from the foul line, and it makes no sense why you're having fun. There's no one else there. There's no competition. You're not doing this to make money. It's not for sexual gratification. These are the things that drive our lizard brains. But we do it, and there's some sort of innate sense of happiness. But now let me move you back all the way to the other foul line and have you chuck full court shots where you don't make a single one. That's not going to be fun. You have to set your challenges to a level where they're achievable, but still there is a challenge there. And a lot of times it takes a lot of introspection to figure out where that bar lands for each individual.
Hey everybody, your host Justin Crawford here, and I'm bringing you a proud message from our sponsors at BLUEMONT. BLUEMONT is a men's hair brand specializing in styling products started by the popular men's grooming YouTube creator Joseph Andrews, aka BLUEMONT. I'm excited to share that their latest Discovery Styling Kit is out right now and contains 5 hair styling products, all in a convenient travel size. But let's hear from one of their most satisfied customers right now.
What's up guys, my name is Harry. I like to slick my hair back. But the problem that I had is I have naturally dry hair. So I really needed a product that could not only offer me the hold that I need, but also a nourishing feature to stop my hair from getting too dry. So I use Fifth Sample Styling Mask Pomade. It gives me a high hold that I need, and its nourishing features keeps my hair soft and healthy.
I spent so much time trying to find the right product for my hair.
But with BLUEMONT's Discovery Kit, you can now try their full range of styling products before deciding on your favorite.
Find the product for you.
Now, if he didn't convince you to make a purchase of that Discovery Styling Kit, I also want to offer you 10% off with our code REALTALK10 for 10% off at www.bluemont.com. And when you head to checkout, if you want 10% off, just use our code REALTALK10. What do you say about taking the first step for better hair today? Back to the episode we got. When our next guest came to the show for our Christmas special, I had no idea we would have walked away from the episode feeling like life has never looked so good. Here's ANUPAM KHER with all of his wise and encouraging words. I think that this world would be nowhere near where it's at unless people were giving to others, and people were inspiring others to keep doing that, because it's a domino effect. You give and you give me the energy. I'm going to go give everything you just gave me in this hour to everybody I talk to for the rest of the day. And it is very much contagious. But I would say that there's a sense of purpose in that. But for you, where does purpose really sit in your life? And then how can other people start thinking about maybe building a sense of purpose and for them?
So I think in your question is the two words that you've used is the answer. The purpose is giving. When you do this rather than this, there is a purpose in that. The purpose is sharing. The purpose is to follow my father's advice that the easiest thing in the world is to make somebody happy. You have to clock it. You have to decide that I will make 2 people happy today. How? In a simplistic manner, you have to decide that.
Yeah.
Like somehow or the other, your parents instilled in this feeling in you that you are happy. You, my friend, will have to decide and tell your listeners, tell your people, why don't we play a game that you talk to me about in this week? Okay, let's not make it per day. Maybe it's difficult. People have to deal with their lives. Per day, tell me, did you make 2 people happy? If you tell me the stories, I will take your names in my show. Something like that. Yeah. I do this Twitter contest always, and I do that. You have to decide things, not leave it open. And we live what other people think of us, and constantly make ourselves unhappy.
Yeah.
Purpose is about, as I said to you, giving. My lift operator of my school today tried to open the door when like this because somebody was inside, and it was not a very good thing to do. My first reaction was to shout at him. Then I told myself 7 seconds, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and my tone changed. To get angry is the easiest thing in the world, because anger gives you a false impression about importance. That is why anger is also the ugliest emotion. I have never used 2 words in my life in the last 30 years consciously. I've never said I'm bored, and I've never said I'm not in a mood. You will never hear this expression in my life from me ever, because we have this false impression of feeling important. I am angry. I am angry. Don't talk to me like that because I am not in a mood. I am bored, etc. It has to start from individuals.
Yeah.
It has to start with the purpose has to start with an idea of giving. And whatever your situation is, you don't need to give in money, in stuff, things. You have to give it and smile. Anywhere you smile in the world, it will be returned with a smile. Anywhere. Smile has no language.
That's very true.
Happiness has no language. Anger has language. Anger you have to translate into words. But if you are in India, in some area, in some remote area, or you are in anywhere, South Africa, or you are in Australia, you just have to smile and laugh to tell the other person, I am happy. So if we understand all that, it's very simplistic things. Happiness is very simple. Anger is complicated. Anger gives you this complete impression that, oh, I'm an important person. I am something that is happening. My brother spoke to me in the morning, and it was his anniversary. And he expected me to call up at about 8 in the morning, and it was 11. I could not suppose call him. He said, what is this nonsense? You've not even wished me. It's my 35 years of married. I'm married. I said, I must call up your wife to have the guts to be married to you for 35 years. Why should I call you up? I will congratulate her because she's tolerating her. So I think if you have a little sense of humor, things will be a little better. Purpose is to give, to give, not necessarily in materialistic thing, but also emotion. People just want an emotional stability.
Mm-hmm.
We are all frightened people inside.
Mm.
And to overcome that fear, we get into a certain attitude. But if we share happiness, if we share smiles, we will be less frightened.
You know, the beauty of having such candid conversations with our men of the hour is that you never really know what you're going to learn from them until the episode actually comes to fruition. And Ryan Serhant's episode was a perfect example of that when he told us just what his life really looked like as one of the most successful real estate brokers. Here he is.
You want to be in front of people all the time, right? Be the obvious choice. Be the role before you are the role. Like all those things. And I follow up with people until they die. Like we're doing a deal right now for $40 million in Miami, of all places, with a guy I followed up with every other week since 2012, right? And that's it. Like it took me 8 fucking years.
Yeah.
But the deal gets done, and I don't care about the last 8 years of my life. I lived them all. I made the best use of them as I possibly could, right? That got me to where I am now. And hey, that's a deal that I'm doing now that I otherwise wouldn't have had. Good thing Ryan of the past put in all that time, right? And follow up is also easy. You know how easy it is to send an email, send a text, pick up the phone, touch base with somebody. Super, super, super easy.
Yeah. And then, I keep hearing too that everybody wants real estate or being a broker or an agent of some kind in the world of real estate to be their side hustle or even a temporary gig. What are your thoughts on that? And, is it that easy to just get your license and start selling if you want to do it temporarily, or is it something worthwhile where you should make a career out of it as you did?
Yeah, it is. Good question. It's super easy to get your license, relatively easy in the United States anyway. It's easy to hang your license with somebody. It's very, very, very hard to make money. Real estate brokerage has nothing to do with real estate and everything to do with trust, right? Because someone is spending money with you. Now, obviously, you can get your license and your brother can put your name down as the broker and you can make a small commission from that sale, right? You can do a handful, but like how many one-hit wonder bands exist out there that never did anything else? Like if you want to get your real estate license to be a one-hit wonder and do a deal or two, go for it. Like, sweet, no problem. But if you want to make a career out of it, if you want to crush it, and if you want to have a limitless income, right? Because no one's ever going to tell you to stop selling. No one's ever going to say, "Hey, listen, man, dude, you sold too much this year. We're gonna pay you less," right? Like you eat what you kill. So there's no ceiling. There's also no floor. Right? If you kill nothing, you eat nothing, and no one gives a shit, and no one's going to pay you, and there's no salaries, and there's no benefits. But like that limitless potential is only there if you really put your heart and soul into it. Like I only saw what the possibilities were once I really pushed that acting bug that I had inside me to the side. Right? My quote unquote passion was theater. And I had to put it to the side, and I devoted all my time to real estate. I didn't take a day off for 3 years, and I built the foundation of what I have now. But, I also have a significant amount of energy, and working makes me very, very excited. And I like work, right? I like follow up. I like building things, putting things together. So you gotta like work, even work that's not glamorous. Because if you don't, it's gonna be really, really hard. But short answer is you can do it part-time, but it would be very hard to make actual money to do it that way.
And finally, I wanted to circle back to one of our very first guests, Boris Kodjoe. When I invited Boris to the show, I was hopeful he would be able to provide us with some insight as to what's been happening around the world when dealing with racial injustices and what we can all do to be moving forward in a more positive direction. He came on the show and provided us with so much more. Here's his best moment. I think there's always going to be good and bad days. But what would you say has been one of your hardest days and what got you through it all these years, if you can think of one moment?
Oh, man. The journey is made up of hard days and not so hard days. And I found that the hardest days are those who you learn the most from. People say you either win or you learn. And I think as long as you embrace those hard days and you embrace your mistakes and you embrace your failures, you get back up and you learn from them. Eventually you look back and you have a interesting story to tell, really. My father-in-law says that. It says, you know, the hard times are the most important because it makes the story better in the end, right? Otherwise it would be boring. You know, when you're in that moment, it's tough. You know, when you're on the ground, when you're sitting on your butt and you fell down again, maybe you fell down over and over and over again, and you're tired and you're exhausted and you don't know what's wrong. And those are the moments that really define who you are. I've had many moments that weren't the best, and it's not just about things that happen to you. You know, it's about how you conducted yourself, decisions you made. I made some terrible choices in my life that affected other people that I love, and I had to face myself. You know, I had to look at myself. I had to ask myself how I got here. I had to, you know, be accountable and figure out where that came from. I had to figure out what some of the patterns were that led me to this point. So I could change it. I could change and replace some of those patterns and paradigms that have been in my head and in my psyche for 40 years, right? Because our hard drives are made up in our first 6 or 7 years of our lives. And after that, it's all about software, right? The hardware is set. So when those paradigms are set in there for so many years, it's very hard to recognize it, recognize how it affects your behavior, your relationships. And it's also very hard to replace them. And you can only replace them if you continuously work at it. It's like practice. You can't just say, oh, there's a pattern that I don't like, I'm just going to lift it out. No, you can't do that. You have to replace that paradigm with something different and then start behaving in a different way. And those are the most painful and the hardest lessons to learn, because it takes a lot of effort on your part to recognize it, then make a decision that you want to change it, and then actually put forth the work it takes to change some of those patterns. So that's also something that the pandemic has brought with it, because it's given us a lot of time. It's given us a lot of time to be stationary, to think, to read, to go inside and figure out some of the things that you don't like about yourself and work on those. So these past 6 months have been eye-opening to me personally, because there's a lot of things that I was able to address with myself, with my wife, with my children, that I understand now I can do better. And that's been really impactful to me and my family. The fact that we can identify things that we don't like about ourselves, and we can actually change them. When you make that a priority, it gives you a whole new sense of self and sense of accomplishment about yourself. So those are some of the things that I think are important to sort of check in on sometimes as you grow and as you progress through your life and as you progress through your career, because you know some of the patterns definitely impact the way you deal with other people, the way you perform in your careers. And so these few months have really helped me recalibrate, if you will.
2020 could not have been a more unexpected and crazy year for all of us, and that's why we launched the Men of the Hour podcast. We wanted to bring each of you conversation with depth in order for all of us to get through these times optimistically together, but also to show you all that even the most influential men in the world are going through life the same ways we are. For all the episodes that you tuned into for our first season, I want to thank you for being here, and I really hope these conversations helped you in whatever ways you needed them to. Now, a Best Moments episode does not mean the show is ending. We're actually just getting started, and I'm super excited to bring you all even more guests in the new year. I would tease the lineup, but that would ruin the surprise of our weekly show that airs every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until next time, my friends, I encourage you all to continue building the best version of yourself and inspire those around you to do the same. Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys again soon.